Hey everyone, this is Rydo and we are back to Hearthstone. This is right after E3, so while I am going to mostly just be talking about E3 and I am going to visually just be playing Hearthstone, it is going to be slightly different. I'm going to plan to go a little bit longer, and off the bat, I think I'm going to try to do some things a little bit differently. Like, first of all, I'm gonna try to see if somebody will get on. Ideally, somebody who's actually watching me. Let's see, Loki was online yesterday, and see if I can just spectate and go through a list I have on my Chrome browsers, which I still have a ton of Chrome browsers and a ton of games to talk about, and I'd like to start, if I can, just by going through every single game, seeing if the name catches my attention or does brings about anything to talk about. I have also, my whiteboard is crammed full. I have extra things that I didn't even touch from probably 2 weeks ago. Let's start with the Tavern Brawl, I guess, right now. And I just want to try to wrap up and mention each of the games. In general, let's see, what is this? They collide with another hero and your deck's a mixed. Pick a hero that starts the game and your deck will be a random combination of 2 classes. Alright, so what do I need to play? Rogue, Paladin, or Warrior. So, let's try... well, Paladin? With that ability, or Rogue. Let's try this. So, in my first coverage of E3, which I should have done last year, most definitely, there is some realization that a lot of games are just shown on the streams. They don't talk about them, they don't give you a date, they don't give you any really details. It's just the very beginning of what you would want to know about a game. It's not very detailed, which for some of the streams is fine, particularly the Xbox stream and the Nintendo stream. Both had a lot of games they announced. Nintendo, even though I didn't bother to cover it because of content IDs and they don't have anything on PC. Anyways, I guess I'll take Rogue here, and we can see if we can get two quests done in once.
Reporting for duty.
Nintendo had a lot of surprises. A Metroid Prime 4, a Metroid Samus 3DS, a full Pokemon game coming out in development for the Switch, which in my opinion is probably going to be the beginning of the end for the 3DS, which we kind of knew. You had to see it coming once the Switch tried to sell itself as a mobile and home game at once. It'll probably be a rather slow death, though, since the 3DS doesn't have to really fight anything else. It's hardly a case of them competing against the Vita or the PSP. The only thing they're really competing against are cell phones, and cell phones will slowly take that market share away as people develop good games instead of just mediocre games, and people can find good games on cell phone services. The other conferences were really, really bad. It was very much the case of 2 classes of conferences. Sony and Xbox did great jobs. No, Sony, not Sony and Xbox, Nintendo and Xbox did great jobs, and
That belongs in a museum.
and all the others did terrible. Let's see.
For justice. Job's done.
So we started off with Electronic Arts. Electronic Arts stream. All these streams are up, and I have uploaded, and I'm going to eventually work to uploading better quality versions of them. But the streams are already available for viewing. Electronic Arts EA started, and considering how they didn't really have to do anything, no, that's not the right phrase. I'm really, this is why I need somebody to come on that I can just watch. Just put on spectate mode to cover all of this, because there's so much here and this is so much a mess. I guess I should have started with that and just say, look, I'm really befuddled. I've got a ton of information here, and it's all good information, all things I probably want to say, but I am not. I gotta keep my focus and stick on it. Probably noticeably here, there's an issue of other things, of just a lack of sleep and being overexerted. But let's try this again. Let's start over. EA came out and announced 5 games on their conference. This is what I said. I pretty much said that in during the conference. It was very, very disappointing, and slightly after EA's conference, or during, I don't even remember, I looked at every single thing EA theoretically, according to Wikipedia, has the rights to. And Electronic Arts is a very old company. I remember playing EA games on my PC 25 years ago. So there's things that they could have just ported over, just re-released, just announced they were doing something new. Things like Magic Carpet. Like, that's not a game that's really gonna cause people to get up in their chairs and scream with excitement or anything, but at the very least it would be something to say, something to talk about, and they didn't. They literally just didn't have anything except for a few sports, which I guess this is what EA has been focused on, is sports. They don't even really care about all the sports licenses that they probably could make. For instance, NHL, which I'm not a hockey fan, so I don't really care, but I know the small minority of people who are hockey fans are vocal about that.
Go ahead. Make my day.
Hey, join the goats or meet my fist.
Interesting. That's let's see.
Job's done.
So yeah, EA's was bad. Then Xbox and EA had the entire day by itself. So you have the bar set very low at the beginning of the E3 conferences. Technically, E3 is still going on and people are walking around the floors, and maybe there'll be some more interviews and some more press packets and announcements. That's one of the issues, is that I look at the conferences, I don't get any real details, and then all the reporters that are actually at the convention center are getting these press packets, and then they're coming back and being very capable of having more actual details.
Go ahead. Make my day.
Ready, sir.
Let's see, do I want to give myself stealth? Nothing's gonna help. I've got to kill 2 people here, and I can only attack once.
We'll handle this.
So let's go ahead and just play this card. Next day we have Xbox. Xbox had, I believe, 40 days. Let's see. Let's just go through my notes that I made here. Battlefield has 8 new maps. That's not Battlefront, so that's or I miswrote it. And new characters: the Women Russian Battalion, FIFA 18 with a single-player Alex Hunter story, which FIFA 18 is very weird on the Switch because it does not. Let's see, try that again. Same setup. It does not have the same engine or the single-player story mode on the Switch version. It's a completely different game. Need for Speed with some kind of YouTube streamer announced. I don't even know what that is, and I wrote it down myself. Need for Speed Payback. Let's just try to erase these things. A Way Out is a co-op game made from the Brother: A Tale of Two Sons, and because it's this weird co-op prison escape, kind of looks like GTA game, but is very possibly much more story based than that. It doesn't even really, to me, matter whether it's story based or GTA, because in the end it's something I can't play, and a lot of people won't be able to play. A lot of streamers won't be able to play because just it's co-op only. Like, even gamers, forget streamers, even a lot of gamers won't be able to play a game that requires you to have somebody else playing with you. Let's see, what did I write here? Creator overhyped, must be co-op. Streamers were mentioned no less than 9 times. EA was very, very bad about talking about streamers, but they got mentioned a little bit. And then if you mix how often streamers were mentioned, plus how often Mixler was mentioned in the Xbox stream, you've got about 20 mentions of that over anything else.
Back to your homes.
To battle.
There was a new IP called Anthem announced. It's mech suits with monsters, it looks like. I can't even remember. NBA Live 18. Oh, the creator was overhyped for A Way Out was the thing. He was there, like, really hamming it up. Let's see. Whenever you summon a 1 health minion, cast a Divine Shield. Combo, deal 2 damage instead of 1. Whenever you summon a Murloc. So I'll kill that guy. Battlefront has a single player story, costumes, class-based shooter, heroes, vehicles. NBA Live has the one story mode. This is all just kind of in the mess. Several PlayStation labeled trailers in EA, which is slightly interesting. Let's see. Do I want to do this or this?
Reporting for duty.
Oops, forgot that I could attack. Let's see. What did I write here? Battle points for vehicles, capitalism, film, Kree planet, Mayday 18th long shot. Like, I don't even know what I wrote. Like, I really stopped writing down things after the Xbox stream. I just gave up. I just was trying to absorb it instead of watching it. Gamescom in Germany announcements, that happened a lot in EA too. Galaxy of Heroes was talked about, a new expansion on that cell phone game. I've got hair all over my my whiteboard too. That's only making things worse. Let's see.
By the power of Ragnaros, I have the power.
If I do
For justice.
this and then this and then this, there we go. Then we had the Xbox stream, which really they needed to do what they did. And when you compare Xbox to the Sony stream, I feel like Xbox did everything it could have, and Sony did nothing it could have to keep its lead. So gives a +2 +6. Do I really want to do that? How about we do this and then do this
To battle.
and then attack here. Xbox event announced the Xbox One X for $500, which is really expensive, but Sony PlayStation 4 Pro did not get a price cut. It's still very possible that by the time we get to Black Friday, there's a price cut announced, and almost certainly there might be, but Sony's not going to come off that announcement that just happened and try to steal some of Xbox One X's thunder. And they created a lot of thunder. They did something really stupid in a car reveal of an actual Porsche 911 GT2 Rally Sport RS. So like, seemed odd, certainly, because while I'm sure video game fans and car fans slightly overlap, it seems really crazy. I have the number written down, 42. That's the number of games they were going to announce, and 22 of those were Xbox One / PC exclusives. So when you think the next 12 months, that's 2 games almost every month that are exclusively coming to the the Xbox One. Let me get that right. That's certainly not something to just shake a stick at. That is a powerful amount of exclusives that could bring things over. That being said, there was really no Halo or anything like that. I suppose it's also worth mentioning that I haven't gotten my replacement second TV. The person I was borrowing it from didn't want to deal with me, so fine. It wasn't a TV that I really liked anyways because it didn't have a native resolution of 1080p. So for that reason, I'm just going to order and have delivered in probably less than a week a refurbished 24-inch smart TV. One of the worst problems with that TV was actually the fact that it didn't have a remote, that at least I got, and the power button was a touch sensitive button, so you would just kind of smash your hand on the front of the face of the TV to try to turn it on. I guess we're going with Paladin, and that means I can play my Murloc deck unless somebody's on here that I can spectate. Let's see. Let's go to Cold Breezy and spectate him because I really need to do that. Let's just, so hopefully I won't mess up the stream if I switch over here. No. So this, now I've alt-tabbed out, and there's a helpful page on, what is it, Rock Paper Shotgun, that has every game announced or trailered at E3. And we have A Way Out. Microsoft, did they in their stream do Ages of Empires Definitive Edition, or was that somewhere else? Well, they announced that, and that's going to be certainly interesting to see such an old game remastered for 4K. Anthem was announced, Assassin's Creed Origins was announced, but we already knew about it, and frankly, from what I'm seeing, it feels like a completely different game, and I'm still not sure that it has a few of the things you would need to make the game move quickly and play well, because it's going back to the very first Assassin. You're losing out on things like the parachute, the hook shot, which was just introduced in the previous game, guns, throwing knives, we didn't see any of that. And the game is getting turned into an RPG, full-on RPG, where you get different pieces of equipment that really matter a lot more than, say, Brotherhood, where you could upgrade equipment and it would give you more health, but you could probably beat the entire game with the basic equipment. Here in Origins, it seems like you can't do certain things with the basic equipment, and you are going to have to go grind in between story parts. Beyond Good and Evil 2 was trailered, but you know what? I don't believe it still. I don't really believe that it's going to come out. That was in Ubisoft. Ubisoft lies. They literally lied on Twitter saying that they weren't going to announce it, or at least implying that they weren't going to announce Beyond Good and Evil 2. I think they technically said they don't think that that would be a good time to do that. And okay, whatever. Like, I don't want to be sued for libel or slander, but Ubisoft has been known to have their advertisement just tell you straight up falsehoods, and then weeks later do the exact opposite. And frankly, I just still don't have faith that it's actually going to get released. Call of Duty World War II, I have no interest in that. Code Vein, slight interest in it if it turns out to actually be a good game. Code Vein is one of many games that were announced that have have at least one doppelganger to them, or 2 or 3 doppelgangers. So I think Code Vein is the vampire Dark Souls game that was announced, but maybe that's Bloodstained, maybe that's something else. There's several dark vampire-esque games. There's one called Vampire that's not like the Code Vein, but could also easily be mixed together. Crackdown 3 was announced with Terry Crews, and story came out later that if you rush through Crackdown 3, you can beat it in about 3 hours. If you play it typically, you're going to beat it in about 12 plus hours, which means Crackdown 3 is not as long as the previous games, and it's going to have possibly considerably less collectibles. Dishonored 2 was announced. If you like Dishonored 1, it's more of the same, I'm sure. Dishonored, Destiny 2, sorry, is what was announced. Dishonored, The Death of the Outsider seems like it's a standalone side story DLC, but not really DLC because it's a standalone game. Looks interesting enough, but I guess I would want to play Dishonored 2 first. Doom VFR is not something I'm gonna do because of VR. Same is true for Fallout VR. Same is also true for Elder Scrolls Skyrim VR, which was major efforts, clearly, of what Bethesda has been doing. Bethesda arguably shouldn't have a conference at all, but they also have a few companies that they've bought, so they could have released some other things or had some new things. The weird thing about Bethesda is it feels like there's only 2 actual major teams, and then their parent company, ZeniMax, either bought and then fired everybody else, or most of everybody else from the other companies. But Bethesda definitely needs some new properties. When you compare it to Blizzard and how they've recently added to their plethora with Heroes of not Heroes of the Storm, with Overwatch. Like, Overwatch is a full new IP for Blizzard, but Blizzard Activision also, if you even just ignore all the things that Activision has made in the past, you also have all of the Diablo storyline, all of the Warcraft storyline, all of the World of Warcraft storyline, all of the StarCraft storyline. So they're rocking 6 games between 4 storylines, well, 5 storylines, and then they have Heroes of the Storm that just takes characters for all of them. Dragon Ball FighterZ is a 2D fighter that might catch some attention, particularly since I think it's on the Switch. Elder Scrolls Legends expands to have Skyrim characters. Elder Scrolls Online expanded to have, I believe, not Skyrim, but Mordor? Oblivion? Not Oblivion. It's the land that the game before Skyrim was set in, which starts with an M, I think. I don't know. I'll move on. Far Cry 5. I have less faith in Far Cry 5 being a good game and not starting a controversy. Not that those two things are connected, but I think I think that Ubisoft in their stream was by far the most inappropriate and most immature, except for Digital Devolver's stream, which was literally just a joke. Like, no game footage, no games announced. They were just doing an Adult Swim, let's make these crazy videos and see how long we can get people to watch kaiju battles and skits that are done bad. I'd argue the press conference skit at the beginning was probably written a lot better, but then it by the time I was at the second kaiju battle, 2 hours into this, I was like, oh, this is not going to do anything, and I stopped. And most people seem to have stopped even earlier than me. FIFA 18, Forza Motorsport 7. I don't have any Forza games. In fact, I have this odd collection of racing games, which is fine because if I tried to play them all to completion, it'd probably take too long. But like, I don't have any Forza Motorsports. I don't have any Need for Speed. I somehow have the exact wrong games for the ones that just got announced. There's this game called Griftlands. I don't even know what that is. Lawbreakers. I kind of know what that is. Life is Strange Before the Storm got announced. The interesting story there, Chloe is the voice actor for Chloe is not reprising her role and coming back because specifically of the SAG-AFTRA voice actor strike, which is to say that pretty much tells you that that company, which I wrote it down, but it's in such a mess of text, that I don't know if I'm going to be able to get back to it because I'm referring to the list here and that. But clearly that company that's making Life is Strange did not want to negotiate with SAG-AFTRA because SAG-AFTRA seems to be more than willing to negotiate individual contracts if they meet the what I would opinionally say are reasonable demands of them. So they could have signed a one-time contract and gotten a new voice actor. Now, because this is a prequel, that maybe it doesn't really matter too much if the voice actor is different, but I think people will probably be upset about it because it's a prequel about a teenage girl and she's only going to be at most a couple of years difference. It also on Life is Strange is kind of odd because it seemed like at the beginning there were going to be 2 releases, or at least in part, because there was going to be a sequel and a prequel, and it turned out I think that the sequel was the prequel, because I never saw any more announcement of a second sequel game. It seems like there's only one. And that's Life is Strange Before the Storm. If we get in a couple of weeks an announcement for a different Life is Strange, that'd be a little weird, but whatever. Metro Exodus. I haven't ever played the Metro games, but it might be a new avenue that I should check out. Middle-earth Shadow of War didn't show that much considering they'd already shown a lot before. Monster Hunter World got announced, and I'm sure that's going to make a lot of people happy. That's for PS4 and PC, I believe, and it has several things that I'm going to try to talk about later. But personally, from my opinion, it seemed kind of lacking. Like, I know Monster Hunter is just a game where you run around and hunt monsters and cook them and then use their skins, I think, to make weapons and such. But that it just kind of what they were showing didn't seem like enough things. And maybe that's just always the case. I've seen some other Monster Hunter things though where it seemed like there was teams working together and it was just one guy, and it seemed like you were talking to people and buying equipment and really trying to hunt, and I'm not sure if that's what this game is. Mountain Blade 2 got announced. I don't think there's really too much to say there. Need for Speed Payback got announced. There's probably some problems with Need for Speed Payback having cutscenes in there in the middle of the races, and maybe it will turn out good, maybe it won't. I guess you could say the exact same thing for almost any game, Oubliettes being one of them. Oubliettes being one of the very few kid-friendly looking games, at least. Ori and the Will of the Wisps had literally nothing said about it, just a guy playing the piano as it watched. But people who loved Ori and the Blind Forest will be hyped for that. I'm in a weird position that way because I own Ori and the Blind Forest, but not the definitive edition. So I feel like I'm probably going to have to buy the definitive edition and double buy on this. Quake Champions got talked about a little bit, but I mean, there's really not too much to say there. Sea of Thieves is a pirating game, and there's something about pirating games that just doesn't catch my attention. And that doesn't help that the exact next game on the list is Skull and Bones, which is a pirating game MMO. And there was a third pirating game too, so no less than 3 pirate games coming out. So this very well may be the year of the pirate games. South Park: The Fractured But Whole is allegedly coming out. It's already been delayed several times. People that like South Park will probably like that. It's not on this list, but I think there was a collectible card game South Park announced for cell phones too. Star Wars Battlefront 2 will have story and try to improve on all the terrible things they did with Battlefront 1, and I would say you probably shouldn't trust them until it's out. State of Decay 2. I don't even know what that game is, but I've heard of State of Decay. So there's like 5 different games that are going through my head that might be State of Decay. There's a ton of games here, and that's one of the things I think that I probably would take away from E3 more than anything else is maybe the other conferences were right to only have 5 or 6 games and talk about them, because it's just going to be so mixed up in that news cycle that your game's not going to get much coverage. However, many games seem like they were announced and released, even some of them, under the cover of E3, so people wouldn't give them too much attention. Tacoma is coming out. That's the one where you're in a space station and you see recordings of people as like little polygonal creatures, and you're trying to figure out what goes on, I think. The Crew 2 is another racing game, so no less than 3 racing games. That's probably pretty consistent year after year. The Evil Within 2 was announced, and guess what? It's going to be less linear than the first, which sounds awful to me. The Last Night was shown, and that caught my attention. I'm still not sure if it's a Cyberpunk 2D platformer or a Cyberpunk point-and-click adventure or what. Total War Warhammer 2 was announced. That's gonna be fine for the people that like Warhammer or Total War, at least on the face of it. There was an Elijah Wood crazy VR experience called Transference that, again, if it's not playable without VR, nobody will ever be able to do anything with it. Tropico 6, I'm still not really sure what Tropico is. It seems kind of like a SimCity, but slightly different. Here's a game called Tunic, I didn't even hear anything about. Here's a game called Wargroove, I didn't hear anything about. Wolfenstein 2, The New Colossus, looks interesting. I need to catch up and play the 2 Wolfenstein games that have come out. XCOM, War of the Chosen, and here's one called Wylands that, yeah, that was the one that was trying to be Minecraft. And looking at this list here, there's actually a considerable amount of things that weren't on this list. But what to do about it? Like, the Griftlands is interesting looking thing. Let's see. It's from Clay. So that was the one that Clay announced. Let's try to get through all this. Lawbreakers is from Cliffy B. So Cliff Bosinski's company. You can sign up for the beta now. It seems like an attempt to take on Overwatch, and Cliff Bosinski has a better chance than most to try that, but he's not going to succeed. Tunic is a game that's being re-announced under a new name. It was called Secret Legend before, and it was... I heard them talking about it. They play as a fox or something, and it's kind of Zelda-esque. So I'll do some more research on that. Wargroove is just a top-down RPG 8-bit style. I think this was the one where you could change the terrain, and that somehow did something helpful. And then Wildlands is the one that's trying to be a Minecraft killer and is gonna fail terribly. Here we go. Let's go through the rest of my web pages. Life is Strange is max-based bonus episode is a digital deluxe edition exclusive. So if you're going to get Life is Strange Before the Storm, pretty much I think you want the deluxe edition. And since the audience is kind of niche in the first place for Life is Strange, being a kind of niche game anyways, I mean, certainly a lot of people that only play Call of Duty aren't going to be drawn to Life is Strange. I think you should probably get the deluxe edition. Let's see, here's some of the information for Monster Hunter World. It has 14 weapon types, which seems low. They're saying the world has no map loading, which is interesting, and zones are gone. It has drop in, and I assume drop out. Multiplayer, 14 weapon types, a new suit items called mantles, a new item called the Stinger, lets you hook on to certain parts of the environment around the world. That was a hook shot. And gear progression. The hunting action is the core gameplay of the system. Is no different in Monster Hunter World, therefore they're building on previous titles for better fighting. It does, some of the previous footage I've seen of previous Monster Hunter games did kind of feel like you were half Dark Souls fighting, where you're getting stances and trying to do backstabs, and half just standing next to the enemy and swinging your sword over and over again. I think I've also seen in some of the previous games that your weapons break if you use the wrong ones really easily. See, it says feline palicos are in the game, whatever that is. Fishing, mining, and capturing bugs will return. The Hunt Cave Forge loop will return. Let's see, Monster Hunter XX Nintendo Switch version. It's 100% on Monster Hunter World for the Western audiences at the moment. So, Monster Hunter XX for the Nintendo Switch is probably not coming out, or at least it's not coming out anytime soon. Ori of Oria and the Blind Forest is joining the Smash Brothers style brawler Rivals of Aether, which I think I want to find that game and make sure it's wishlisted. Conan Exiles is going to get a expansion and a preview for Xbox One. Conan Exiles is going to be a weird one on the consoles, because I just don't know if they're going to let any of that nudity in there, and then that's going to kind of kill the feeling of that game. Plus, also, there's really not a game there. I have a lot of things that were announced in Japan, kind of just during E3, but not really connected to it. And in Japanese, the Tokyo Game Show and their conferences will probably happen too. So Fate Extella, the Umbral Star for the Switch, is coming in 2017 worldwide, and so fans of the Fate series, if that is actually even a series, is going to be out. Ziwi, the Ivard Insurrection, is out for PC this summer. And that looks a little cutesy, but it might be a good Japanese RPG. Ori and the Will of Wisdom. A lot of my articles were from PC Gamer, and PC Gamer's site went down. The Last Night, we talked about that. Apparently, the creator of The Last Night had some old tweets that he had to apologize for. Let's see. But I don't know. It says, I am embarrassed by some of the tweets I made in the past and want to apologize for those. They do not in any way represent who I am today or what The Last Night is about. Then host Day 9 quickly moved things along. Let's see what this article clicks to. Let's see. He tweeted some things that were pro-Gamergate and anti-feminism. You decide by yourself, you're able to willing to separate the art from the artist. Alright, this is Rock Paper Shotgun, which was heavily anti-Gamergate. I honestly don't want to get back into any of that, frankly, and honestly, a lot of times when liberal people in the game media say anti-feminism, they're talking about the anti-third wave new feminism that's off the rails, or at least part of a section of them are unrealistic and ridiculous. And being pro-Gamergate, if you believe Gamergate to be about ethics and journalism, is something everybody should be. EA wants to use machine learning to create real-time game narratives, apparently, which means EA doesn't want to pay writers. I would take that to mean. But it might also improve some awkward dialogue. EA opened a Seed Game Tech Research Division, which probably is part of that. Two different articles that were right back to back. Agents of Mayhem added the Johnny Gat from Saints Row. I'm still not sure if Agents of Mayhem is out right now, or it's still part of a pre-order, so it's going to be out pretty soon. I kind of wait on it though, because that again may just be another Overwatch attempt. Let's see, Moero Chronicles it's Moero Chronicle, coming to the West via Steam this summer. Yeah, I bet that's Moero. Looking at the character things, which seems like, I don't know what it is. That cute anime girls doing something, fighting monsters probably in an RPG. Jake Hunter Ghost of Dusk was announced, which is another Japanese game that certainly no coverage there. City Shrouded in Shadows.
Bring it on.
Another game, another Japanese game announced. Let's see if we can just go through all these. A story slightly before CD Projekt, before E3, the CD Projekt Red's an old version, according to them, of Cyberpunk 2077's assets were stolen, and the person who stole them tried to ransom them, and they actually filed an official police report. So this isn't a marketing ploy, which was one thing I thought it maybe would, is that they were saying Cyberpunk stole an early version of our game, but frankly they're not even far enough along in development of that game. As far as I know, they still may be in pre-development of the game. They may not have a single line of code for Cyberpunk 2077. So advertising would be too early. There's a game called Black the Fall that's a atmosphere puzzle game for consoles and PCs, Xbox One, PlayStation 4. With all the Nintendo things announced, I feel like I have to specifically mention now the consoles and not just say consoles, because before E3, honestly, I would have said consoles and just meant the PS4 and Xbox One. But now I feel like with as much as Nintendo came out and announced, they actually are in the running to make the Switch succeed, and they're doing mostly right by it for the most part. Although that new Mario game, Mario Odyssey, does look a little weird, so it might end up disappointing a lot of people. Bandai Namco, I think I already announced this, they're targeting mobile markets with a Docomo partnership. Let's see. The game called, Hakuuki Kyoto Winds is coming to PC via Steam this summer. What kind of game is this? Seems like a romance game. So it's probably a romance visual novel set in what looks like the feudal era of Japan. GameStop notified its online customers of possible credit card theft. Honestly, I haven't purchased anything from GameStop in probably, I'd say, 5 years or more. But, and I would kind of recommend nobody do it. It's hardly like GameStop is a good store. I think everybody, if you can find a local video game store, which there probably don't exist, should potentially just buy everything from Amazon. Amazon is going to be the new Walmart, but it's very potentially not going to be as bad as Walmart. And maybe if we somehow figure out how to get GameStop to go out of business, there would be local video game stores, but I doubt it. But GameStop treats everybody awful too, employees and customers, so I wouldn't do anything with them. Maybe just go to local pawn shops for physical releases. That is a possibility. Yeah. Last time I was in the pawn shop, there were really, really old used games that were probably overpriced. Kingdom Come Deliverance is, let's see, when is it coming out? It's a realistic medieval RPG. And they said the release date was announced, and then they didn't write it down in the article, apparently. Okay, here it is, first sentence. Under the picture, February 13th, 2018. And just put the date in the title. I know they want you to read at least one sentence. Hitman is ditching the episodic model in 2 weeks, and this was published probably more than 2 weeks ago. So the intro pack, the game's tutorial missions and first full chapter, and the upgrade pack, the cheapest way of acquiring everything after the intro pack, are going to be discounted for 2 weeks. And then these changes have been planned since early March. Like, I don't know how you would play Hitman though, and this is really not making it look any easier to understand. If you're just new to it, I don't know how many elusive targets you'd really get or miss, or how many elements you'd get. It seems like you'd have a very, very different experience right now. Night Trap 25th edition has some video out here. I'm rather interested in playing it, although the way this looks here on the footage, to be all honest, seems like they might have just put a frame around all the screens and a border on the sides to make it 16:9. So there might not be a real improvement in the 25th edition, but whatever. I mean, it's hardly like Night Trap is gonna sell a ton. Let's see. Okay, here's another one about Hitman Season 1. The complete first season compilation is, so they compiled all of the first season. Of course, that with its uncertain future, and I'm still not sure if elusive targets and things like that are going to be included. This is an article about somebody getting lost in Shibuya. People overclocked the CPU to 7 GHz with the science of liquid nitrogen. And that is certainly interesting. Well, we're really going to hit a point eventually. I keep thinking we're going to hit a point where we can't go any further with speeds as far as gigahertz, and we're going to just end up with 100 core CPUs that technically are 100 gigahertz, but each core really is only doing 1 gigahertz instead of a front side bus that is doing even 1 gigahertz, because I'm still not sure what the actual highest like consumer front side bus is. Is it 555 megahertz, 566 megahertz, something like that, or is it up to 800? Is it up to 1600? Did it jump and I miss it? I doubt it. The Binding of Isaac creator revealed the end is nigh. That was a long time ago. I'm finally getting my icons back on Chrome. Level 5 has announced that they got the guy who made they acquired the company that made ReCore, and what was that other game that was the Mega Man game that they kickstarted and then released and insulted everybody. They said they were going to make you cry like an anime fan on prom night when it was an anime game, and most of the people who pre-ordered the game were probably anime fans. Let's see if I can find that. Man, this is just a wall of text. Just a wall of text. Anyways, so that was the creator of Mega Man that started a new company and made ReCore and that other game, and both of those games failed miserably, and now Professor Layton, creator Level 5, has acquired them, and I imagine they'll keep the main guy, and get rid of the rest of the team, which might be the wrong way. They might it might be better keeping the rest of the team and getting rid of the main guy. Microsoft is planning on using AI to beef up Windows Defender, which is nice. Let's see, there was supposed to be some kind of special Crash Bandicoot announcement with the Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy. What's interesting about the Insane Trilogy is Insane is the bad guy, so they're leaving the door open for another trilogy with a different bad guy. Microsoft has changed the memory allocation on the Project Scorpio so that they have 9 gigabytes of the 12 gigabytes available to them instead of whatever it was before. It was probably closer to 8. Oh, they're saying it was 5 gigabytes, so you're kind of almost doubling the amount of RAM. Nintendo's Universal Studios theme park has a trailer out there. It's, I think, the one in Japan, though. Universal's, but oh no, they are going to get a Super Nintendo World section in Universal Studios Los Angeles and Florida, so that might be interesting. Like, I'm not one for going to parks, but you know, that's slightly tempting to want to go see a Nintendo World. Shin Megami Tensen's Strange Journey Redux is coming to the Americas in early 2018. A lot of Japanese games that are specifically only announced and talked about on Gametsu, of the things I cover. And that's why I would want to keep Gametsu here. Etrian Odyssey and E5 Beyond the Myth is coming to Americas this fall. And I guess when they say the Americas, they may only mean the United States and Canada and all of that. Let's see. And finally had to install Java on so many different things. I was trying to get my my Minecraft server to work, and they compiled the newest version of Minecraft with Java 8, so I had to install a new version of OpenJava on my Linux server, and I had to install a Java 64-bit on my Windows 10 PC. So it was irritating me all over the place. Let's see, what else do we have here? I think I've gone through all of my lists here. Good. Alright. So at least I can get back to playing Hearthstone. And I want to see if we can make some more progress here. Sorry that for nearly an hour there I'm just talking and not playing. Let's just play Murloc's deck. Murloc's ranked as well. So going through that list and closing my web pages, I can now go through my whiteboard and just start erasing things that like Assassin's Creed Origins, you control the eagle to sight. You do have a hidden blade. Bows are very important. There will be huntings and a giant snake. Player Unknown Battlegrounds is going to get a Control the Zombies mode. And it's coming to PC. Well, no, it's already on PC, but I think it's coming to Xbox. There's a game called Deep Rock Galactic that wasn't on that list. I don't remember that. State of Decay. There's one called The Darwinian Project. There was a lot of announcements on the Xbox thing about Mixler. Minecraft is going to have crossplay. Several games, I believe, are going to have crossplay when all is said and done. On all the versions except for PlayStation and probably the Java version. So the Pocket version, the Xbox version, the Win 10 version in the Windows Store. They did mention that they still have work to do on the Windows Store, which is kind of like a no duh Of course, they still have work to do. They have a lot of work to do. If they were going to ever get people to get into that. With the Dragon Ball FighterZ, we already talked about. Black Desert MMORPG. I think it's called Black Desert Online. We talked about the last night. I still don't know what it is. I have here written Bloodstained, Scratched Out, then Code Vein, Sea of Thieves, Tacoma. Super Lucky's Tale is interesting because there's a new Bubsy game from like 25 years ago. I'll get the exact date later on. And then on top of a new Bubsy game, there's this new, what looks like kid-friendly game called Lucky's Tale that also has my attention slightly. We'll see if it can actually be good. Cuphead's coming out, and I would like to play that, and I'd like for it to be good. Crackdown 3, I'd like to play that on PC, and I hope it's good. Starring Terry Crews. There was a game montage in the Xbox stream of a bunch of short clips that's all I wrote down. Ashen, Life is Strange, Prequel, we start Shadow of War, Ori 385. Maybe that's 385 Xbox Ones are backward compatible. Xbox One original games. No, the original Xbox games are coming out to be backward compatible. Let's see. The Xbox originals are rather interesting. I don't know how many people are really going to play how many of those. Xbox One X is a pretty bad name. They need to just change it. Full Pokemon game is coming out for the Switch. Why I have that written down? I guess that was the point where I stopped actually writing down things. There was that Mario and Raving Rapids game too. Let's see. Let's do this and then this. Oh man, I messed up, but it doesn't matter, I won. Nino Kuni 2 and Professor Layton, developer, acquires Compact Maker, Concept Maker of Mighty Number 9. Let's see. Beyond the Good and Evil 2, Yoshi, a new Yoshi game, a new Kirby game, 2 new Metroid games, 1 Metroid Prime, 1 a 2D thing, Xenoblade Chronicles 2, all at the Nintendo conferences. So there's a lot of Ubisoft ones we specifically didn't buy. Let's see. And let's hop back into the game. We're still going to have, I think, plenty of time. I think this is probably just going to be a really long one. A lot of things have changed because now that I've done the initial setup on Hearthstone for the 3 regions, the Americas, Europe, and Asia, there's a real reason if somebody wants to play me on the Asian account or the European account. I can play you with the basic cards. I can also, now with the new update, get daily quests done and try to get gold. And there is a reason I want to get at least 700 gold pretty quickly in both the European and Asia market, so I can buy the first week of One Night at Nexramas and get those cards cheaper than having to make it with dust. So, in theory, every 3 days, I could do 3 times as many daily quests. It's not a super high priority, though. Mostly, I just want to get the daily quests done that are for... I think I'm just going to end my turn here. For the America's account, because that's where all my cards are. And if people do want to play me, I'm more than willing to play them. But I kind of also am going to have to ask anybody on the European and Asian account to let me win with a very basic thing. I'll let you show off your deck, but when you get me down to 1, I'd ask that you stop and let me get victories so I can get that extra bit of gold, which isn't even that much, but is kind of what I need.
Reporting for duty.
And that's not too far off from what I generally try to get with the America's account too. And I'm certainly willing to go back and forth and let you win one and let me win one, but I'm trying to get all of these things done as quickly as possible. Let's just continue down here. I have half a whiteboard, but this is all just E3. So, but we've also been going half the time. So I think what I want to do... No, I can't really do that, can I? I think we're just going to go really, really long. Yeah. So this is going to just be awkward. Let's just kind of speed through it. I may find out I've talked about so many things, and that's why I need to continue in one breath and not take a break. Otherwise, I'll talk about the same thing twice. Bandai Namco is remastering some PS2 trilogies of .hack GU, which is an RPG. With Sword Art Online out there, I guess that kind of makes sense. It seems very clear that Sony won't allow Microsoft's crossplay to work, and they're defending that. At least that's how it's being written. Let's see. I have several things here I've written down that I just don't have any info for. A game called A Plague Tale Innocence, which is set in medieval times during like the Black Plague. Elijah Wood's Transference, Knack 2.
You will pay for that, cur.
Bravo Team for PS4, PSVR. Spider-Man game was announced at the end of the Sony conference. The Sony conference in itself was such a huge mess, and a terrible production, but I'll talk about that later probably. Xbox avatars are now more diverse because they have fake limbs, at least one wheelchair, color wheels on some things, pregnancy, different kinds of haircuts, things like that. I also have no info about... There is literally no talk about for The Last of Us, which is a very surprising one, in my opinion.
That is incredible. Hello, challenger.
This one's getting annoying, so we'll squelch him. We don't have any information really about Detroit. There was a trailer for it. I'm still not sure if it's a like Telltale story-based game, like the creator of that game has done before, or if they're going for more of a territory control game. Call of Duty World War II, no real interest in it. God of War really didn't say anything. They showed us a trailer, but they didn't actually say anything. which there's probably nothing really to say there, because it's probably just more God of War. Lego Worlds and Lego Dimensions both announced new expansions. Hey, a new person on the chat, Red Wolf. Hey, Red Wolf. Hello. So I had predicted before that we were not going to hear anything more from Lego Dimensions, and I would have predicted, I didn't even think it was worth mentioning, that we weren't going to hear any more from Lego Worlds, and both of those came out and said there's going to be DLC. It's slightly interesting that Terry Crews is coming into Crackdown 3. You can see I talked about Crackdown 3 like 4 different times, and I have it just written over and over again. It's kind of every time it catches my attention, I write it down again. Well, it did catch my attention during E3. There's kind of a question about what the story is going to be like for Crackdown 3. If it continues the story of Crackdown 2, which I played, or if it just tries to change everything up. There's also kind of a question if it's the same city as Crackdown 1 and 2, because that would be a little boring too. Although there's been enough of a delay, I bet a lot of people wouldn't remember. Ideally, I felt like they should have taken the concept of Crackdown 1 and 2 city and put it in a bigger city with less water around the sections, because it really is. The city in Crackdown 1 and 2 is 3 islands in a circle around a central island that is kind of the final boss section, and that's very small. Riot, who is owned by Tencent and makes League of Legends, has opened an Indian office to pursue more of a player base there. I'm not sure there's much of a market for playing video games in India at all because of their internet issues being very expensive and them mostly just having cell phones. So, but clearly Tencent, the Chinese company, wants to get into the Indian market, which is right next to him. Like Hotshots Golf, everybody golfs is getting coming to PS4 on August 24th, I think. I'd like to see Hotshot Golfs come out everywhere, because there really was only one. That was the only announcement of any golf game, and that's just yet another sport that should. I would like to see have at least one game come out per year. Let's see. I already talked about player-controlled zombie modes in PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. Zelda is getting 2 DLC things on June 30th. Mario Odyssey is coming out on October 27th. There was 2 pirate games that I wrote down, but there was probably like 3. Sea of Thieves and Skull of Bones. Skull of Bones is an MMO. It's coming out for the PlayStation 4, Xbox, and PC. We really haven't seen successes in a massive way for MMOs on console. That's just not something we've seen. Final Fantasy 15 has some DLC coming out June 27th. Final Fantasy 15 also has a fishing VR game. I have here written tons of sneak announcements and releases. A lot of things that you could have easily just missed. and I intentionally released so that you might miss them. Let's see.
The battle.
Should I kill something or should I just attack?
The battle.
Might as well kill that, because next time I play something, it's gonna be in the way anyways.
Job's done.
Let's see. Assassin's Creed Origins has an $800 special edition. Greedy Ubisoft. Greedy. $800 deluxe edition. I mean, that's not a typo. That's confirmed as far as I can confirm it. Total Warhammer 2, September 28th. So, a lot of things I talked about or were announced in the convention and conferences, and then later on expanded upon. So there's some repeats. Starlink Battle for Atlas is this new Toys to Life thing, and I thought for sure Toys to Life was dead, and that gets right back to me being wrong about the Lego Dimensions. Is I figured everybody was gonna wind that down, and to see this new game announced for Switch where you get these toys is rather shocking. Let's see. 2. Kill that one. Kill that one. There we go. I don't think Starlink Battle for Atlas is going to succeed by any means. A lot of amiibos in the Nintendo thing, and the amiibos are certainly doing as well as they ever have. And I hadn't realized that amiibos sometimes have more use than just cosmetic outfits or a few little items in like Zelda. It turns out I was talking to Red Shadow during one of the conferences, and he was saying, yeah, in Smash Brothers they are actual like programmable AI things that you train up and interact with. So yeah, amiibos are still gonna be a thing. Just for the aesthetics, I kind of want the Mario and Zelda and Bowser and a princess in wedding outfits, white suits and a white dress. In general, I wanted to say I'm mostly happy with my E3 coverage. I've gone back and watched other people's coverage, and mostly I just said the exact same thing everybody else said, so I think I'm on the level of the professionals that I'm watching. In a couple places I said things that other people hadn't thought of. That being said, there is certainly some things I'm just throwing out and being naively optimistic about, because almost every video got a content ID, so there's really no money in doing E3, but it saves me. I would have been watching it anyway, so it's just a efficient use of my time, really. The views were pretty low. Better than what I get on a just random average video by far, but I was only getting maybe at best on average 100 views per video, and that's better than the 7 or 8 views I get on some of my scheduled videos, but it's nowhere as good as, say, a Hearthstone expansion where I get on average 500 views for a video. And in some of the streams, because they have it in Pacific Daylight Time, it seems like a lot of my fans who like to comment aren't actually in anywhere close to Pacific Time. And so it was the middle of the night for, I think, a lot of them. And so we just didn't get a lot of comments on some streams. On some streams we got a lot. And I didn't really get any subscribers to mention, new subscribers. I had hoped at the beginning, and I said that this outright, that maybe through the E3 things we'd get up to 500 subscribers, be able to use Super Chat, because that's the limitation there. But that didn't happen. Destiny 2 is coming to PC in October. Ark Survival Evolved is leaving early access in August, but I think Ark Survival Evolved already has sold DLC before it came out of early access, and I think there's several other slightly shady things that have been done by that company. So it's kind of like how Kerbal Space Program came out of early access so they could sell it. I already talked about the PSVR Final Fantasy 15 fishing. That doesn't strike me as something that will be that fun. We talked about how the voice actor for Chloe in Life is Strange isn't coming back, and that is Deck 9 is the name of the company that seems to not be cooperating with the SAG-AFTRA strike, because they've been willing to negotiate with other people and allow other companies to just sign a one-time contract if they really wanted that back. See, Monster Hunter World is coming to PC. I already talked about that. Sony has announced in their trailer they're ripping off Jackbox with the PlayStation mobile thing. The Inpatient for PSVR, made by the people who made Until Dawn. No Last of Us 2. I think I wrote that down twice. Very shocking in that case. That's just not there. And I guess we didn't see too much about the Uncharted thing. They're making a second remake for Shadow of Colossus, which some Total Biscuit said didn't even look as good as the first remake. The Uncharted sequels, yeah, it's kind of there. Sony's conference was by far the worst. Loco Roco 2 is getting remastered for the PS4. Reddit ads accidentally leaked The Evil Within. There's a lot of advertising on Reddit in the first places. A lot of people pretending to say, hey, I found this great new thing and check it out, and it's just an advertisement for something. Trying to be sneaky and do viral advertising. Let's go ahead and kill one of these guys so we can better control the board. That being said, if I could get advertising for my channel on Reddit, I'd do it in a second. So I'd be just as guilty. Kingdom Hearts 3 was announced, and the less fanfare than you probably would have thought. Honestly. But maybe the massive amount of delays has caused even the most hardcore of hardcore fans to decide that there's nothing to get too hyped about it. Let's see, we already talked about how FIFA 18 on the Switch is missing a bunch of things, and how it's on a different engine, not Frostbite. Minecraft's going to be in 4K, which seems ridiculous. Sony's conference sucked and was very expensive looking. Like, they spent a lot of money to make a sucky conference, which is a lot different than, say, Ubisoft and EA's conferences, which suck, but it seems like they probably didn't spend as much money on it, at least. Let's see. The other thing about Sony's conference is there's a possibility that if you were watching it on different streams, so like the Twitch stream versus the YouTube stream, it seems like there were different videos and different trailers. When I went back and watched somebody else watch it, there's sections I swear did not show up. But that could also just be because they were having trouble, because all throughout that conference they were having trouble with the audio, although some of the streams didn't have trouble with the audio. They were having trouble with loading and lagging on their part, and although at other times it was loading and lagging too. One of the things that Giant Bomb's coverage of the Sony thing is they were switching back and forth between streams and thinking, or at least thinking, if not actually having trouble with their own internet, since they're in Las Vegas too. Whereas I just stayed with it and said, look, it's their fault if it loads for a second, and I never had any better real problems with it. So my coverage of the Sony conference is better than Giant Bomb's, and because of all their internet issues and then taking down the router and messing with it, which was not something I was willing to do. Ashen was re-announced after a couple years, so like a game has been announced and then re-announced. Artful Escape 2, I need more information on that one. Blade Strangers for the PS4, which is a crossover fighter, and Switch and PC has been announced. Battlefront 2 will have only free DLC, I think. And we're almost done with my whiteboard, which is kind of what I'm trying to go for here with this extremely long 2-hour episode. Wolfenstein is coming out October 27th, which, okay. Bethesda in their stream talked about the Bethesda Creators Club, which is paid mods 2.0, but at the very least, this time they're addressing almost everything except for the core thing that probably a lot of the mods they're going to sell aren't worth paying for. All the things in Creators Club are going to be new mods made by new creators and allegedly tested so that they run to Bethesda standards. Which, remember, we're talking Bethesda here, which they really don't have any standards, because Skyrim and Skyrim Special Edition very buggy, and there's an unofficial mod that fixes so many bugs in those games. Bethesda also releasing Skyrim on every single thing possible, just to get some more money out of people, I'm sure. But yeah, if some of the really, really big mods out there are the kind of things that are going to be sold, but not those, but new things for Skyrim, maybe a few people would be willing to buy those. But if it's just simple things, I don't think they're going to sell that much. Jazzpunk Director's Cut is coming to PC, and some kind of DLC is coming to PC for it too. Witcher 3 is going to get Xbox One X and PS4 Pro patches to make sure it still looks good. I think I already talked about The Evil Within being less linear than the first game, and the first game wasn't very linear. Epic Games Fortnite, I still need to look up what that is. We already talked about the Xbox One being $500. I talked about a story and I misreported it, saying that I think the original Xbox controller might be upgraded with a new driver for the Xbox One, so you could take an original Xbox controller, which they nicknamed the Duke, it's a horrible controller, and just plug that into the USB port of an Xbox One. It turns out that's not the case. Actually, there's a controller maker named Hyperkin or something like that. I've written it too small. That's making a controller that looks like the original Xbox controller that will work for the Xbox One, which is slightly different. And then we talked about Bubsy being back after 21 years for the PS4, and PlayStation and PC. And I think that was a real passion project from what I hear to bring back a 21-year-old game, and we'll see if they can do anything with that. And with that, that finishes my whiteboard and leaves me free to just focus on Hearthstone in the next recording. And so that will, I think, be good. Somebody's playing a tournament in Adventure Torment 5 in Diablo 3. What is Torment 5? Interesting. So we've gone almost 2 hours, probably closer to 1.5 hours, 1 hour and 45 maybe, for this recording. So stay tuned if you're watching live. As anybody that's watching it recording, as always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend or follow me on basically any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.